Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rhett and I used to drink quite heavily. I was a total binge drinker and I took it way too far for way too long. And in this video I want to share with you some things I learned along the way, especially in the beginning days, weeks, months, and years of trying to get sober and being sober. And that is, true healing starts with sobriety. It starts once you quit drinking. And for years, I drank away my pain. I drank away my insecurities. I drank away just feeling in general. And, you know, for a while it worked. And I think back, and I think the reason it worked is I wasn't aware of the healing I needed, of the things I was suffering from. And that's because I was constantly distracting myself with alcohol, with partying, chasing girls, just being a belligerent idiot the majority of the time. And I never truly faced the issues that I was facing, you know, deep inside me. And as I started this journey to quit drinking, and it took me a few years to fully walk away from alcohol for good, but as you start this process, you'll start to notice things about yourself. Notice your thought process, your opinions on certain things, your triggers. And you start to question why these things are in place, why certain things are programmed in your mind the way they are. And in my journey, you know, starting to get sober, it really it cleared the mental fog. It cleared just the dark clouds that surrounded me, and it really helped me see my wounds, recognize them, and start to take steps to heal them. And alcohol just wasn't a part of that anymore. It's easy to just put down drink after drink and think you're escaping your problems, and you're really not. Deep down I knew that, and I feel like deep down you know that as well. But yet, we put ourselves through the same cycle over and over again. You know, when things get hard, or when those negative thoughts start to creep in, we find ourselves drowning them with alcohol. And it numbs the pain, it numbs the thoughts, but for how long? It's only temporary. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to face them. Once you let go of the bottle, the fog starts to clear up, and you can really focus, and you'll start to see what needs mending. You can start to see where your issues stem from and focus on them and start to heal them. You'll start to see the alcohol is just pushing them further and further down inside you. And you know, the longer you push them away, the longer you push them down, the longer you try to suppress them, you know, the harder it's going to be when you finally decide to face them. And I know that sounds scary. Trust me. I went through it. I'm still going through it. I'm still in this process of finding myself and working on healing from things that I've been suppressing for years. And a lot of these things I didn't even know were there. You know, I look back to my super heavy drinking days, and there was certainly times where these thoughts started to creep in, but I quickly distracted myself, either with other thoughts or drinking, or telling myself that those thoughts or those feelings were that of being weak or having weakness. And I felt like I was honestly above them. And that was just a story I was telling myself. It was sort of a defense mechanism. It was my ego protecting me from facing these things. But once you rid your life of alcohol, everything in life just becomes more clear. You think clearer, you think in a more rational way, and it allows you to process these emotions that you've been hiding for years. And in this process, you'll start to build a resilience, you'll start to build confidence in yourself in facing your hardships, facing things from your past that you're not proud of or that you never wanted to face in the first place. Now you're able to face them with a level of awareness that you hadn't before. Maybe you look at things with a different perspective, with a certain level of awareness and understanding. And that allows you to heal. Instead of suppressing everything, you let it come to the forefront of your mind and just observe your thoughts. Observe what's going on in your head and how you're feeling, how those emotions are making different sensations in your body. I know this sounds kind of off the wall, but it'll tell you something. Your body will tell you something if you listen to it. Once you build this mental resilience within yourself, you'll be able to face issues that you've been suppressing. And you can start with little ones, and just like anything else, you tackle the smaller problems first, and you slowly build up strength to tackle bigger problems. And soon, you'll be able to face all your problems. And this doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. But if you're consistent with it, I promise you, you'll love the results. For me, I'll give you a good example in terms of my relationship with my wife. When we first started dating, I had just gotten out of a relationship we both had, and I was not even in the mindset of trying to be with someone or anything like that. And this stems from, relationship issues I had in high school and in college, and I've always been pretty independent and I haven't had a ton of, serious relationships. I would say 3 total, including my wife. And I had scars from each one of those relationships, whether they were caused by me or the other person. But I had a certain level of resentment towards just relationships in general, and being in one and letting myself be vulnerable and letting myself love and be loved. And I suppressed those feelings for years, and I was super angry for years. And I distracted myself and suppressed it and numbed it with alcohol. And to a certain degree, I knew what I was doing, but I ignored it. I ignored all the signs, and I just continued to party and drown myself in alcohol and, sort of like push through and tough it out, that whole tough guy attitude. And it did nothing for me, It took years to finally face those emotional wounds that I had. And honestly, it wasn't really until my wife and I started dating that I really started to look at my life and my mindset towards relationships through a microscope. And it totally magnified what I was doing to myself and the issues that I wanted to face. And I knew at the time that when we were dating, I knew there was something special. I knew that she was the one, and but I needed to sort my shit out in my head in order to be the best person for me and for her and for us. And so, but I would have never, if I didn't, at the time I wasn't drinking that heavily because I used to own a taxi company and I was running that, so I didn't even have time to drink for a few years there. So my head was I would say, relatively clear, and it helped me realize A, where I was, and B, where I wanted to be. But filling in that gap of how I get from A to B, that was something else. But I wouldn't have had that level of clear-headedness unless I was sober, because I had dealt with these issues for years and I never faced them. And so I finally decided to face them, and it was tough, but it was so worth it. You know, now we're married and have been for 3 years, and life is great. But like, if I would have continued in my drinking ways, that never would have been possible. So my message for this video is just, you know, if you're interested in true, absolute healing, you have to get a clear mindset. You have to clear your body of the alcohol and just get in a better sense of health, mentally and physically. That way you're able to see things clearly and know which problems you want to tackle first. And it just kind of snowballs from there. You'll figure out a way to heal. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. You know, let me know what's going on in your healing journey. Leave a comment in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate if you hit the like button, shared it with someone that might find it useful, hit the subscribe button, and, you know, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys watching. It's not always easy to make these videos, but I think it's worth it. So take care, and I'll see you guys next time.